Okay, we're looking at the first great skill of guard retention. Guard retention is overall a deep and complex skill and one of the fundamental skills of Jiu-Jitsu, but within it there is the first skill, and this is the skill of movement. There are certain body skills, body movements, which if you don't master as skills in themselves, you're going to find all of the techniques and concepts and tactics that I show you later in this video difficult to actually employ on a resisting human being. Remember, everything that I show you, you're going to have to do on someone who's a good guard passer. As you get better, on someone who's a great guard passer. If you cannot perform the basic body movements which make all of those techniques possible, none of what I say later on in the video will be of much use to you. So the place for us to start is with movement skills that make all of the techniques and tactics that we're going to look at later possible. We've understood that there are three fundamental postures to guard retention, and when it comes time to play guard, the two big choices we have are between seated and supine guards. Then we add in turtle position, and between those three postures come all of the basic moves that enable us to retain a guard against a tough guard passer. We're going to look first at a seated guard and the basic prerequisite body movements that make guard retention possible. If we have a standing opponent, the first body movement involved from a seated situation is the action of scooting. Okay, scooting is the seated version of shrimping. I'm sure all of you watching this video have seen Jiu-Jitsu teachers teach what is often referred to as the skill of shrimping down the mat. Okay, where people generate motion from a supine position, and this basic movement is one of the core movement methods of the entire sport of Jiu-Jitsu. Scooting is just a seated version of this, where if someone, for example, moves to an angle, I will plant my hand so that even as they pass my legs, I'll come back to start, right now he's in front of me, even as he passes my legs, when I turn, my upper body faces him. So my legs are pointing out here, but my upper body faces my opponent. Then we plant our foot and we scoot, and now our legs face him again. He moves in this direction, my upper body faces him first, and then from here, a simple scooting action means that my legs go to face him. Scooting is designed to increase the distance between myself and my opponent. As he moves to an angle and comes around closer to me, distance is starting to diminish between us, and I need to do something about that. The more distance there is between myself and my opponent, the easier it is for me to engage in guard retention. So when I come in here, post, my upper body faces him, I plant a foot and scoot, it increases distance. So when he comes in to pass my guard, I can recover my legs and go back to work. Okay? This simple movement, excuse me, Matthias, can be done solo or with a partner. Ultimately, of course, you'll be doing it with a resisting opponent, but you've got to start somewhere. So often it's drilled just in terms of a pushing foot and a posting hand and scooting. And we just go side to side in this fashion. And you can move a surprising distance in a very short time and create the distance you need between yourself and your opponent to put them back in guard. So this is our first movement skill that you must work upon and master from seated position for guard retention. Now, we've divided our whole theory of guard retention into two major areas. There is a general theory of guard retention in which we look at broad principles and concepts, and we use those to hold someone off who's trying to pass our guard. Now we're going to move to the second section, which is the form of guard retention that most people understand and practice in the world of Jiu-Jitsu. This is a more specific approach to guard passing, where the idea is I identify what is the actual methodology of guard pass that my opponent is using, and then I focus upon the strengths and weaknesses of that guard pass. I look to solve the central problems that that specific guard pass creates for me, neutralize the threat, and then ultimately put my opponent back in guard and get back into an offensive cycle. There are, in this video, around 7 major forms of guard passes. which are seen most often in modern jiu-jitsu. Variations of these forms of 7 forms of guard pass account for over 90% of the various successful guard passes you'll see in championship competition. And so we want to focus on those. The key idea is that any given guard pass has its, as we said before, strengths and weaknesses. Any given guard pass creates central problems. And if we can identify what the guard pass is, identify the central problems it creates, and neutralize those problems, you're going to stop most of your opponents from passing your guard on most occasions. Looking at a situation where my hand goes to work, there are many different guard passes that my opponent can go to employ. We've identified a subset of the most popular and the most successful guard passes. We'll be looking at those in the coming chapters. But you can see that your opponent can rapidly change between them. So, for example, he can start with a Toreando pass and then pop up to his feet. And then from here, he could change that to an X pass, a variation of a Toreando, where he can now send my legs through and go in. As I stop that form of guard pass, now he can scoop underneath both of my legs. And from here, go into a very useful form of guard pass, double scoops or double underhooks, as they're often referred to. If I feel I'm doing a good job of fighting my opponent off, he can thread hands through, and then from here switch off into an over-under guard pass, where he goes under one leg and over the other, and work from this position. From an over-under, as I go to push him back and go back into Toreando passes and throw my legs by. And it's often a rapid exchange from one form of guard pass to another. What I need to be able to do as the defensive athlete is to identify what form of guard pass is being used against me. I should be able to identify that in a split second. Once I've made the identification, I should have in my mind what are a list of the central features of that guard pass, what are its core strengths and weaknesses. I should be able to negate my opponent's guard pass at those weak areas and then go in and retain my guard. So this is the specific approach to guard passing, very different from the general one that we've been looking at so far. The idea is step number 1, identification. Identify what is the guard pass being used against me. That's going to come down to your ability to learn what these guard passes are. We're going to focus on 7. There are others, but these 7 account for the vast majority of successful guard passes in modern day competition. So we'll focus on them. Step number 1, identify the guard pass. Step number 2, have an understanding of what are the strengths and weaknesses of that guard pass. Step number 3, neutralize the guard pass at its weaknesses. Identify what I need to be able to do to stop that particular guard pass from being effective against me, and then either get back into an offensive cycle, or if my opponent switches to another form of guard pass, make a switch and continue the operation. Identify the guard pass, attack it at its weak points, and get back into an offensive cycle. This is the specific theory of guard passing, and that's where we're going to be turning towards now.